People think the biggest moments in life come with loud music and cheers. They think destiny arrives dressed in gold and glory. But the truth is, the moments that change everything often happen under a cruel sun, on an ordinary day, while the world is busy laughing. On a hot September afternoon in 1882, 10 women stood on the wooden platform of the depot in Millerton, Texas. By sunset, 9 of them would leave with husbands. 1 would not. Anna Miller felt the heat pressing down on her shoulders like a heavy hand. The noon sun burned the boards beneath her boots, and the air tasted like dust and shame. She kept her eyes fixed on the railroad tracks stretching into the horizon. She had learned not to look at faces when people were judging her. Beside her stood women with pressed dresses and hopeful smiles. Some whispered nervously. Others fanned themselves and tried to look pretty. A tin dipper of water passed down the line, but Anna refused it both times. Let the others drink first. She would not show weakness. Not here. Not again. "Fine, ladies!" Mr. Harwick's voice boomed over the crowd like he was selling cattle instead of brides. "Educated, skilled, ready to build proper homes." Men stepped forward one by one. Miss Catherine from Pennsylvania was chosen first. A rancher with gray in his beard helped her down gently, and she smiled like she had been rescued from drowning. Then Miss Dorothy, the seamstress. Then Mrs. Garrett, a widow with 2 healthy boys. The younger girls followed quickly. Laughter rose from the crowd each time another woman stepped off the platform. Anna remained. She could feel the whispers growing louder. "That's the one who was sent back. 3 years married and no baby. Returned goods." The words hit her like small stones. She did not move. She did not blink. She had stood in worse storms than this. 3 years earlier, her husband Thomas had returned her to her father's house like a broken tool. The doctor had said there would be no children. That was all Thomas needed to hear. Her father would not meet her eyes. Her mother pressed travel money into her palm and closed the door softly. Now she stood here again, waiting to be chosen like a last item on a shelf. One by one, the remaining women were claimed. The platform grew empty. The crowd grew louder. The sun felt hotter. Until it was just Anna. Mr. Harwick cleared his throat, shuffling papers. "Miss Miller here is experienced in household management," he announced weakly. The crowd laughed. "Experienced at what?" someone shouted. Anna's nails pressed into her palms hard enough to draw blood, but her face remained calm. She would not beg. She would not cry. If this was her humiliation, she would endure it standing tall. That was when the laughter stopped. Boots stepped onto the wooden platform. Slow, steady, unhurried. The crowd parted without being asked. Jacob Cole walked forward. Everyone in 3 counties knew his name. The rancher who had lost his wife and newborn child 3 years ago. The man who never smiled. The man who kept to himself. A man carved from hard land and harder loss. He stopped at the edge of the platform and looked up at Anna. Not at her dress, not at her face searching for flaws. At her hands. They were unclenched now, small drops of blood marking her skin. "Mr. Cole," Harwick stammered, surprised. "I didn't know you were looking for—" "Wasn't," Jacob said quietly. His voice was rough like worn leather. "Changed my mind." He lifted his gaze and met Anna's eyes. Not with pity, not with doubt. Just steady and clear. "This one," he said loud enough for the whole town to hear. "We're going." The silence that followed was thick as church air. Anna's heart pounded so hard she thought she might faint. No one had ever stepped forward for her, not when she needed it most, not until now. Harwick hurried to speak. "Mr. Cole, I feel obligated to inform you of certain circumstances regarding Miss Miller's previous marriage." "Don't need to know," Jacob replied. "She can't have children," Harwick blurted. The words hung in the air. Jacob did not flinch. "My house already knows empty," he said evenly. "Got 2 graves behind it. You think that scares me?" The crowd fell silent. Jacob turned his back on them and walked toward his wagon. "She coming or not?" he called over his shoulder. It took Anna 3 tries to find her voice. "I'm coming." She grabbed her carpet bag and stepped down from the platform. The same crowd that had laughed at her now stared in confusion. Some shook their heads. Some whispered that Jacob was a fool. Anna did not look back. At the wagon, Jacob did not offer his hand. He did not touch her without permission. He simply stood aside, waiting, giving her the choice. She lifted her bag into the back and climbed up herself, nearly stumbling but catching her balance. When she sat down, she saw something change in his eyes. Respect. They rolled away from the depot together, the sound of mule hooves steady against the dirt road. For a long moment, neither spoke. Finally, Anna asked the question burning in her chest. "Why?" Jacob kept his eyes on the road. "You didn't beg," he said. That was all, and somehow it was enough. Behind them, Millerton disappeared into dust. Ahead of them waited a ranch, a past full of graves, and a future neither of them yet understood. And neither of them knew that before the sun set, fire would rise on the horizon, and everything they thought they were building would be tested by flame. The wagon had not yet reached the edge of town when smoke rose on the southern horizon. Anna saw it first, a thin gray line stretching across the sky like a warning written by God. Jacob followed her gaze. His jaw tightened. "Grass fire," he said. The wind shifted, carrying the sharp scent of burning prairie. It was not the friendly smoke of a hearth. It was wild and hungry. A rider came tearing down the road toward them, horse-lathered and wild-eyed. It was Sam Patterson, the neighbor's boy, barely 15. "Mr. Cole!" he shouted before he even reached them. "Fire jumped the creek. Pa says it's pushing north." Jacob turned the wagon without hesitation. "How far?" he asked. 2 miles from your south pasture." Anna felt the wagon jerk as Jacob pushed the mules faster. The smoke thickened, dark and rolling. "Ranch isn't in danger yet," Jacob said, half to himself. "But I need to check the fire breaks." They crested the final hill, and Anna saw her new home for the first time. A low wooden house standing firm against open land. A barn to one side. A corral. No flowers. No lace curtains. Just survival. Jacob barely slowed. "I'll show you inside quick," he said. "Then I've got to help Patterson." The house smelled of dust and bacon grease. 4 rooms, simple and rough. The kitchen served as the heart. 2 bedrooms, a small parlor unused and plain. Then he showed her the lean-to. "It's yours," he said. "Locks on the inside. I won't enter unless invited." The words hit her harder than the smoke outside. A man offering her space, offering respect. She nodded once. Before she could ask anything more, he was gone again, racing back toward the rising fire. Anna stood alone in the kitchen. Smoke darkened the sky. Wind rattled the windows. She should have been afraid. Instead, she moved. She tied on her apron, pumped water, checked the stove, fed the chickens, took inventory of the cellar. Salt pork, potatoes, beans, enough to survive. She cleaned the table, scrubbed the coffee pot, wiped grease from the stove wall. By the time hoofbeats returned at dusk, the house looked lived in. Jacob entered first, covered in soot. Behind him came 3 other men, equally blackened from fighting flame. One of them, a broad man with a red beard, stepped forward and grinned too wide. "Well now, Jake," he said, eyes lingering on Anna. "You didn't say you brought home company." "This is my wife," Jacob said flatly. The word wife changed the air in the room. The red-bearded man's smile faded just a bit. "Since when?" "Since today." The other men shifted uncomfortably. Anna felt their eyes on her like heat. "Fire jumped the break," Jacob said. "Contained for now." "We've been at it all day," one of the men said. "Least you could do is offer some food." Anna's heart pounded. There was barely enough for one man. Jacob stepped slightly in front of her. "My wife just arrived from town," he said evenly. "You boys best head home." They did not like it, but they left. The door shut. The bolt slid into place. Silence filled the room again. "I made supper," Anna said quietly. Jacob looked around at the clean table, the warm stove, the plate she set before him. He ate slowly, like a man who had not tasted home in years. 6 months since someone cooked in this kitchen besides me," he said. She washed dishes while he spoke of the fire. "Won't be back tonight," he added. "Word will spread you're here." Later, she locked both doors of the lean-to and lay awake listening to wind and distant thunder. At dawn, work began. Days fell into rhythm. Fences repaired. Garden turned. Meals cooked. Silence shared. Then the storm came. Not gentle rain. Not passing thunder. A wall of black-green sky rolled toward them. Wind slammed the house like a fist. Hail shattered windows. "Cellar!" Jacob shouted. They ran. The world above them tore apart. Wood screamed. The roof peeled away. The earth itself seemed to shake. In the dark cellar, Jacob pulled her against him as the tornado roared overhead. She could feel his heart hammering, feel his breath against her neck. For one terrifying moment, she thought they would be ripped from the ground. The cellar door burst open. Dirt rained down. Anna wrapped her arms around him and held on. Not as arrangement. Not as convenience. As choice. Then, just as suddenly as it came, the storm moved on. They climbed out into ruin. Half the house was gone. The barn destroyed. Her lean-to room reduced to splinters. Everything broken, except them. Before they could take it in, Sam Patterson rode up again, face streaked with tears. "The house fell on Pa," he cried. "He's pinned." Jacob was already moving. Anna followed. At the Patterson place, chaos reigned. Beams twisted. Walls collapsed. Mr. Patterson lay trapped beneath the main support beam. If they moved it wrong, the whole structure would collapse. Anna's voice rose steady and clear. "We brace the sides first," she said. "Build a tunnel. Then pull him free." Men listened. Jacob listened. They worked together without pride, without hesitation. When the tunnel was ready, Jacob crawled inside. Anna held the rope tied around his waist. "Pull!" he shouted. They dragged Patterson free. His legs were shattered. "Doctor's too far," someone said. Anna knelt beside the broken man. "I can set them," she said. Mrs. Patterson stared at her with disbelief. "Let me try," Anna insisted. They obeyed. Jacob held the leg steady while she guided bone back into place by memory and feel. Patterson screamed once before losing consciousness. When it was done, she sat back, shaking. "Keep it clean," she instructed. "He might live." Mrs. Patterson grabbed her hands. "I was wrong about you," she whispered. Anna did not answer. She looked at Jacob instead. He was watching her like she was something he had never seen before. On the ride home through wreckage and broken fences, neither spoke. Too much had changed. The storm had stripped away roofs and walls. It had also stripped away the careful distance between them. That night, with only one room left standing, they faced a new reality. One bed, two people. No more pretending it was only business. Jacob looked at her in the dim lantern light. "Today in that cellar," he said quietly, "I realized something." Anna waited. "I don't want arrangement. I don't want convenience." He stepped closer. "I want you." She swallowed hard, and for the first time since standing alone on that platform, Anna Miller felt not like the woman no one wanted, but the woman someone had chosen. That night, the ruined ranch stood under a sky washed clean by the storm. Half the roof was gone. The barn lay scattered across the pasture like broken ribs. The lean-to that had been Anna's room no longer existed, but one bedroom still had 4 walls and a roof. Jacob lit a lantern and set it on the small table beside the bed. The yellow light flickered across the damaged walls. Wind slipped through cracks where windows had once been. "We'll rebuild," he said. Anna nodded. She was too tired to speak, but not too tired to understand. They worked until dark, gathering what could be saved. The stove still stood firm. The well still pumped water. The chickens had survived, loud and offended, but alive. Life, even in wreckage, demanded attention. When there was nothing left to do, they stood in the doorway of the only room left standing. One bed. Jacob hesitated. "I'll take the floor." Anna surprised herself. "No." He looked at her. "We survived a tornado pressed against each other in the dirt," she said quietly. "We can share a bed without pretending we're strangers." He studied her for a long moment. Then he nodded. They prepared for sleep without words. She changed behind a privacy screen painted with faded flowers. He turned his back. The mattress dipped slightly in the middle when they lay down, pulling them closer than planned. For a while, neither moved. The wind outside carried the smell of splintered wood and wet earth. Coyotes called in the distance. "Anna," he said softly. "Yes." "When I came to the depot, I thought I was choosing safety." She waited. "I thought I wanted a wife who wouldn't expect much. Someone strong enough to survive beside me without asking for more." He turned toward her in the dim light. "But today, when that cellar door blew open, when I thought we might die, I realized I don't want safety." She could feel his breath near her face now. "I want choice, clear and honest." Her heart beat steady and loud in her chest. "What are you choosing?" she asked. "You," he said. "Not arrangement, not convenience. You." The words settled deep. Anna thought of Thomas returning her like a broken thing, of her father's closed door, of the laughter at the depot, of Jacob stepping forward while the world mocked her. "I'm not Sarah," she said. "I don't want Sarah," he answered. "I want the woman who stood tall, while everyone laughed. The woman who saved Patterson today. The woman who works without complaint. I want my partner." Tears burned her eyes, but she did not look away. "I can't give you children. I don't want children," he said simply. "I want you." Silence filled the space between them. Then Anna did something she had not done in years. She chose. "Yes," she said. "I choose you." He pulled her closer slowly, giving her time to stop him. She did not stop him. His kiss was careful, not demanding, not owed, chosen. Outside, the wreckage of the storm lay scattered across their land. But inside that room, something new took root. Not built on dreams of wallpaper and roses, built on work, built on truth, built on two people who had already been broken and decided to stand together anyway. Morning came early. Sunlight poured through the missing sections of roof. The rooster crowed from somewhere near the overturned coop. Anna rose first. She dressed and stepped outside into the ruined yard. The damage looked worse in daylight. The barn would have to be rebuilt from the ground up. Fence lines were gone. The lean-to would need framing again. Jacob stepped beside her. "Town will be talking," he said. "Let them," she replied. He smiled faintly. That day, neighbors came to check on them. Mrs. Patterson arrived with bandages and gratitude in her eyes. Sam followed behind her, speaking of how his father was resting and alive. Word spread quickly. The woman who had been the last one standing on the platform had set broken bones with steady hands. The woman who had been called unwanted had stood in a storm cellar and refused to let go. Even Tom Hadley, the red-bearded man who once smirked in their kitchen, removed his hat when he rode past. Rebuilding began the next morning. Anna helped measure boards for the new barn. She planted a garden in soil turned by fire and wind. She organized supplies for families who had lost more than they had. Jacob did not treat her like hired help. He asked her opinion. He listened. They planned together. The new lean-to would be larger, she decided, with proper windows, a shelf for books, a table near the light, and curtains, she added. He nodded. And curtains. Weeks passed. The ranch took shape again. Different. Stronger. One evening, as the sun sank red behind the hills, they stood watching cattle move across the pasture. "You know," Jacob said, "I thought that day at the depot I was rescuing you." Anna looked at him. "Turns out," he continued, "you were rescuing me." She smiled softly. "Maybe we both were." In town, the story changed. It was no longer about the woman no one wanted. It was about the cowboy who stood before a laughing crowd and said, "Give me the one no one wanted." And about the woman who proved that sometimes the one overlooked by everyone else is the one strong enough to hold everything together. Years later, when people asked Anna Cole how she found love, she never spoke about romance. She spoke about standing tall. She spoke about choosing, even when you are afraid. She spoke about storms that tear down roofs, but reveal what truly matters. And she always ended with the same truth. Sometimes, being the one no one wanted means you were saved for the one who could truly see you. And sometimes, the strongest love stories are not about perfect beginnings. They are about two broken people choosing to build something beautiful from the wreckage.